I remember my mother laughing out loud once every year. I'm not talking about smiling, giggling, chuckling. She did all of that pretty regularly. I'm talking about this loud, unrestrained, carefree laughter that often makes you lose control of your body. It would be 5 days after Holi on Rang Panchami, a festival that is commonly celebrated in my hometown, Khargone, Madhya Pradesh. The days on Rang Panchami would begin pretty regularly for women. Prepare the meals, feed the kids, send the men off. At some point in this day, all the women and children in the locality would gather on someone's angan with sweets, snacks, and colors. It is during this merrymaking, my mother would get up, she would pick up an empty bucket, put some stones in it, pick it up above her head, and shake it vigorously. This was her announcement that the show is about to begin. And then she would launch into impromptu role plays. She would become a drunk husband trying to wake his wife for a kiss. She would become a forbidden lover pining for the love of women around. She would become a mean daughter-in-law who wins arguments with her in-laws. This whole role plays would be loud, raunchy, and funny. She would razzle women's saris, she would tease them about their sexual fantasies, and she would not let anyone sit like a lady. I'm giving a TED talk about it now. If you ask 13-year-old me, I was very embarrassed about all of this. Because all the manners that I had learned were being thrown left, right, and center by the same person who had taught me how to be a good girl. But women in Sainath colony loved my mother. Some even would join her in this role plays, taking on roles which were far from their reality. It was our annual auntie improv. And it is in this moment I would see my mother, along with other women, falling onto each other, laughing out so loudly that the pallus going off their chest. This gathering would last for 2 hours or something. We would all come back home. My mother would clean the house, and then we'll take a bath, as if she's physically washing away this personality that was so spontaneous, so goofy, so childlike, so witty. And then she would become my mother. My mother, who had a very serious and very non-funny job of managing 4 kids and a house full of 100 chores. Where did this personality that was so capable of play and pleasure go rest of the year? I actually never asked this question until I turned 23 and when my mother died. After she died, I started interviewing people in her life to get to know her more. What do you remember about Ma? I would ask them. One of her friends, Gangle auntie in our locality, she responded, "Bhabhi bahut hi mazakiya aur mastikhor thi." Your mother was very funny and goofy. I have many beautiful things to say about my mother. Funny and goofy are not the adjectives that come to my mind. What was my mother, or who was she when she was not being my mother? What did she do when she was not working? How did she rest? What did she do for joy? What did she do for herself? I really tried hard to even fake an image in my head. Imagine my mother not working. And it was really hard to conjure up an image of woman not working because I didn't grow up seeing women at rest around me. I could easily imagine a man at leisure. Stretched legs on a table, newspaper in front, sipping your morning tea. Can you imagine a woman doing that? Stretched legs, open newspaper, chai, in the first hour of the morning? It's really hard. So because I couldn't visualize women at leisure, I started doing what makes sense to me. Basically clicking photographs, collecting videos, curating photographs and videos of women at leisure. I started with my own family, bhabhi, didiya, chachiya, clicking their photographs. It's a pretty mundane project, honestly. It's a very ordinary project. As you can see, how ordinary it is. Women doing nothing. You know, my bhabhi is lying on the floor while Zumba video does the exercise. And I have been doing this for 5 years now. I have clicked 1,000 photographs, collected many such photographs from people, and I've spoken to hundreds and hundreds of women about leisure. And here's my big discovery. Leisure sets us free. Women's leisure is at the heart of our collective societal liberation. And let me define leisure here. You know, people define it as freedom from obligation and duty. I define it as any window of time and space where your guards are down to whatever extent possible. It's the moment where you're truly yourself at ease. You don't have labels on you. And in a society where women can be themselves at ease, that's a free society. So women's leisure is your measure of how free a society is. And let me expand on that. Leisure is a game of permissions. Who gets to do what with their time, where? It's decided by your social standing. It's a game of permissions of ownership of time, ownership of who gets to claim space, ownership of who gets to own different activities. It's decided by the caste you're born in, it's decided by the class you belong to, and many such factors. Let's dive into permission of time. When we talk about inequality, we discuss about resource distribution, money, property, rights. We don't discuss time as a resource. Because in the current way the society is designed, time is unfairly distributed, especially for women. There is no time in the day which is allotted for leisure. So what do women do? They steal time. This is my sister Sushma and her friend Asha, just like Gangle auntie and my mother, stealing 5 to 6 p.m. on my terrace to catch up. This is an hour after children have come back from school, have been fed, house is clean, and this is an hour before they're going to start dinner preparation. This is how they steal time. Most farming activities in India are done by women. Have you ever wondered how and when these farmers who are cooking, feeding, taking care of kids, nurturing families, and farming, how do they steal time for leisure? Sometimes it looks like this, where season of sowing seeds becomes season of dragging your friends in the mud and play with it. And sometimes leisure looks like this. Freedom looks like this. Let's talk about ownership or permission to own a space. Markets, very common public space. We all go to markets. You know, men go to market to chill, to stand at a pan gumti and discuss about worldly affairs. Women go to market to get things done, to buy things. So this is a rare sighting of women at leisure in a market. In India, when girls hit puberty, we call them inside our home. They don't play outside. We see a lot of men, grown men and boys playing cricket, volleyball, football, or just sitting in playgrounds, in lanes of our mohalla. We don't see women and girls playing. This is how they play inside their homes. There's another space inside the home where they play, called kitty parties, which sometimes we look down upon. But if you have restrained public spaces outside, the play is going to come inside. And sometimes, leisure in a public space looks like this. And sometimes, freedom looks like this. Like, I wonder what this woman is feeling in this moment with her legs apart, looking at the waves, waiting for them to wash her over. What is she feeling? Let's talk about permission of who gets to do what, owning activities. Just like girls hit puberty, there is a big change. When boys hit puberty, there is a big change that happens in their life. They don't get touched. They don't get held. Women get to touch each other very easily, platonically. A simple activity of taking care of your skin, taking care of hair, happens when women are at leisure. A very simple activity of dancing. In the region that I come from, Bundelkhand, women and girls are not allowed to go out in wedding processions. So if your son and your brother are getting married, you're not allowed to attend if you're a woman. Thanks to my father, my sister and I were able to attend my brother's wedding. So when I and my niece entered in the dancing arena, all the men stepped back because they didn't know what to do with us. And they waited for us to leave until we didn't. And they joined us and they started dancing with us. A moment of enjoying the space together. Another basic activity, romance. In India, we don't express romance easily, especially in public. So what do people do? They get married, they wait for their children to grow up, and wait for their children to ask them, Papa, Mummy, pose like lovers. They happily oblige. I don't know if you've noticed, there is a kid under the bed. It's in that setup, this romance is happening. This couple lived near Jog Falls, but never visited Jog Falls. When their son grew up, got educated, and got earning, he arranged a trip for them to go to Jog Falls. They dressed up in their finest clothing. Mother donned a wildflower to have this beautiful, delightful trip to Jog Falls. Women in our country wait till they turn 60 or 70 to finally have a sigh of relief and say, अब मैंने जो जो करना था कर दिया है, बच्चों को पढ़ा दिया है, शादी कर दी है, अब मैं आराम कर सकती हूँ. I have done everything that I was supposed to do, now I can rest without guilt. Lifetime's worth of wait to just relax. Talking about permissions, religion gives a lot of permission to women to be at leisure, as complicated as that sounds, because a lot of religious activities happens at the expense of women. And yet, religious activities lets women dance, sing, travel outside their village so they can do what Savitri looks like prayer, looks like picnic. As basic as singing, dancing, traveling, sleeping, it shouldn't be a luxury. And yet, for so many people in our country, it is. And I'm not even going to make a claim that we need to win this game of permissions. I'm going to say we have to become bigger than this game of permissions. We have to be freer than this. You know, the current discourse on feminism in urban spaces is stuck in the survival mode. We're constantly busy fighting patriarchy. Our benchmarks of success are decided by how patriarchy is going to poke us. You know, patriarchy, casteism, classism, they said that a person's worth is decided by how much money they make, what work they do. So we don't see women's labor. And because we don't see their labor, we don't see their leisure or the absence of it. We don't ask, where are our mother resting? And honestly, leisure has so much more to offer than just productivity. It's your moment to reveal yourself, to get to know yourself. It's a portal of self-knowledge. Leisure is not just a weapon to fight patriarchy. It's actually a feminist tool to create a new world, first within and then beyond. It's a victory of having power within instead of power over. And it is in this self-knowledge and self-acceptance lies our self-actualization. I mean, where are our mothers getting a moment to self-actualize themselves? I mean, imagine a world. What world would it look like if your mothers were singing, writing poetry, getting lost in their thoughts, sitting and figuring themselves out? Uchalti, koodti, khilkhilati, हल्ला बोलती, सोचती, खुद को पहचानती औरतें. There is an immense transformative power in all of that, first for themselves and for everyone around them. Because a lot needs to be changed inside a woman and outside her for her to be able to take a nap like this in a public space. A society needs to be really free for her to do that. I named this project after my mother, Basanti. It means spring, a time that allows flourishing. And I think leisure does exactly that. It allows flourishing of self. So the next time you're out there, you want to take a walk in the park, do that. You want to sit and read a book, listen to music, sing, dance, take a nap, do all of that. And know that in that moment, you're not just surviving, you're thriving. And you're giving permission to everyone around you to do that. And look out for it. Are women around you resting enough? Are they enjoying enough? Are they sipping their cup of tea, staring in the space, drifting away in their thoughts, and revealing themselves to you and to themselves? Because sometimes leisure looks like this. Sometimes women empowerment looks like this. And sometimes our collective freedom looks like this. Thank you.